That when you couple that kind of rigging of the game economically with this kind of tectonic demographic shift, it's actually a miracle we didn't get this election result sooner. It's a miracle we didn't get this kind of disruption and this knocking over of the status quo sooner. And so this is the moment we're in. And it's a moment defined not just by the election of Donald Trump. It was a moment defined by the emergence of Bernie Sanders, who in his own way challenged every notion of status quo and establishment, and who named the rigging of the game explicitly. But it's a moment defined, if you rewind before that, defined as well by the Tea Party, by Occupy Wall Street, by the emergence of Black Lives Matter, by the emergence of the Dreamers. We live in an age where simultaneously you have this incredible concentration, monopolization of wealth, voice, clout, and presence in this country. But now what we're beginning to see at last is a great pushback. And I would say to you that in the United States and indeed around the world right now, we are living through a time of incredible surges of bottom-up people power. Every one of those movements that I described earlier, from the Tea Party to Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, $15 now. You name all these movements right now, and you might say, well, they haven't quote-unquote succeeded. They haven't won, right? Maybe the Trump train won, but the Sanders movement didn't. To which I say, not true. In the first place, all of these movements are part of an ecosystem of change, and each one is making the next one possible. But then secondly, I would say to you the fact that it is common parlance today to speak of the 1%. It is common parlance to talk about police killings and the injustice of our criminal justice system. It is common parlance now in the United States for us to reckon with the grinding nature of poverty wages that so many millions of Americans have to try to live through. The fact is that the conversation has shifted in the United States, and that is in good part because of this incredible phalanx of bottom-up citizen movements. And these movements, though they may come from the left or come from the right or come from points and directions that are completely orthogonal to a left-right axis, are part of this moment. And if we want to understand this moment, it's simply not a moment of business as usual. We can see that in the reality TV show of Washington, D.C. today. But it's also true just in the bread and butter day-to-day life of what you do worrying about health care, access to health, health outcomes, health disparities, disproportionality in health care and health outcomes here in the state of Colorado. Just in your bread and butter day-to-day life, you know and feel that we are in a time of great tectonic disruption. And we're in a time where people have been taking it for 3 or 4 decades, but are no longer taking it anymore, right? And to me, this is an exciting moment. Not because everybody who is now mad as hell, not going to take it anymore, knows exactly what they're going to do, or is exactly strategically smart about how to do it, or has exactly figured out the right pathway to success, but because there is an awakening right now, right? And I would say even for those who, and again, cards on the table, I have worked for a Democrat. My views in politics are generally progressive, but what I'm describing here is a completely cross-partisan phenomenon. And one thing that I would tip my hat to Donald Trump about is that this man who occupies the White House right now, he alone is single-handedly, I would say, responsible for one of the greatest surges of civic engagement in the United States that we've seen in over half a century. He may not have intended it, but there's no question that his presence has catalyzed and awakened tens of millions of Americans who had been complete bystanders, checked out, perhaps maybe somewhat interested spectators, but had not been on the field and are now stepping on the field, right? And that's, again, not just people who are in the quote-unquote resistance, resisting the Trump agenda. It's people who are reform conservatives saying, well, hold on a second. What's going on here? People like Jeff Flake of Arizona, Republican senator, saying, hold on a second. If we believe in conservative principles, is what's going on here hewing to our principles? People on the right who are libertarians saying, hold on now. You may like some of the policy outcomes coming out of this administration, but is the way that it's happening in a way that is, again, concentrating power in the Capitol something that we want to actually sign on to? There's a cross-partisan, cross-ideological awakening going on in this country. People saying, hold on a second. I don't like how this game is being played. And I think this is to me, though it is scary and disruptive, and though no one today, I think, can plausibly predict what the state of our republic will be in 6 or 12 or 18 months, I would still say net, this is an incredibly positive thing, because we are not in stasis. We are not paralyzed with cynicism. We are not stuck. We are waking up. And that is our moment.